welcome. David Levin here, Raising Your Game Today. This is Tuesday, so we're talking about life in sports. Fridays are for the rest of our lives, outside of sports. This week, I want to talk about pressure. When we think about pressure as an athlete, we normally think of it as being a bad thing, as a negative. It's a barrier, it's a burden, it's an extra load we're carrying. If we want to play well and be successful, we're going to have to overcome it. It's standing in our way and working against us. We wish it weren't there. We wish things were easier. It's hard enough to play well and beat your opponent. Why do we have to beat ourselves too, right? Beat our own nerves. And just on a personal level, it stresses us out. It makes us crabby, makes us not be the kind of person we want to be with other people. And then we feel bad about that. We can see it as a weakness in ourselves. Why do I get this way? Why do I let it affect me so much? This is how we tend to think about pressure. But what if that was all wrong? And not just a little wrong, but completely wrong. 100% backwards. What if, rather than feeling like we had to fight against pressure and overcome it, what if we saw it as a gift that would help us go farther and feel better about ourselves than we ever could without it? What difference would that make as an athlete if you could feel that way? I was reminded of this the other day when I came across a quote from the great tennis champion, Billie Jean King. Billie Jean King, of course, was much more than just a tennis champion. She's one of the most influential athletes of all time. I still remember her big publicity match, the Battle of the Sexes with Bobby Riggs back in 1975, I believe. That was such a big deal, just everywhere on TV and the news and magazines. And of course, it was an even bigger deal than I realized at the time. I was 14. Anyway, her quote is, "Pressure is a privilege." Pressure is a privilege. That's the title of her book. It's also posted on a plaque in the walkway leading out to center court at the U.S. Open. It's the last thing a player sees before they walk out onto that court. Pressure is a privilege. So for them, I think the message is, yes, you are an elite athlete, or you wouldn't be here. Center court, U.S. Open, you're at the highest level of your sport. But at the same time, don't forget, this is a privilege. Very few people get anywhere near this place. Have some humility and responsibility and respect and perspective. That's how I read the message for the athletes, the rare group of athletes walking down that path. And I love it in that context. It's also a great reframe. Look, you're feeling a lot of pressure right now, probably walking out of center court. My goodness. But if you're feeling like that's a burden and a problem you need to overcome, just let go of that. Even if it's just for a moment, let go of that feeling and be thankful for the privilege. I love that too. I think it's super helpful and right on the money. But for the rest of us, not at that level, not in that context, I also think you can take it even further. It's helpful to start with, but you can go even further with it. First, you can use the energy you're feeling, the nervous energy, as fuel to take your game to a higher level. You hear about elite athletes doing that. They get better as the pressure increases. Michael Jordan, early in his career, would intentionally trash talk opponents to get them to trash talk him back, and then he would use that conflict energy to boost his game. It got to the point that opposing teammates, would tell whoever was covering him, don't get into it with him. Don't let him pull you into that. If you do that, he's going to kill us. So you can literally use the energy of your nerves to elevate your game. And even, again, be thankful for it, because it'll take you higher than you could get otherwise without it. Now, to be fair, you might need to work on how to do that. If you put higher octane fuel into a race car, you have to tweak the engine so it can handle the extra power, right? You might need to work on how to keep from getting fidgety and rushing your pace and losing your touch and making sure you're still thinking clearly. But that's just part of taking things to a higher level. It's all good. Also, bigger picture, when you think about what makes a game or a match exciting as a fan, it's the ups and downs, right? It's the back and forth, the tension, the close calls, the drama. So as your game approaches and you're feeling your nerves start to build, rather than thinking, oh no, here it comes again. What am I going to do? I hope it doesn't mess things up. You can reframe the whole thing as good news. Okay, here we go, getting real now. This is exciting. This is going to be something. And that, of course, completely changes how you feel about pressure and gives you the perspective you need to turn it to your advantage. So yes, the pressure that comes from being an athlete, even just a rec sport player like me, it is a privilege and a gift and something to be genuinely thankful for. But it's also an opportunity to continue to take things to an even higher level. For more thoughts on this idea, you can check out another one of our posts. It's called, "What Does the Ultimate Level of Mental Game Mastery Look Like?" There's a link to that below. Also, this is important. It's one thing for me to say, reframe your thinking. When one thought comes up, reject that and think a different one instead. Or physically, when you feel the energy and tension of your nerves in your body, just turn that into positive fuel. That kind of self-awareness and self-regulation requires specific skills, the skills we teach in our Sports Academy and our Advanced Mental Game Mastery courses. So I don't want this to just be another example of someone telling you what to do without telling you how to do it, because that drives me crazy when I hear it elsewhere. You need to learn the skills, for sure. But I still think it's helpful in a forum like this, and even inspiring, to at least get the perspective of what's possible. You can learn to turn pressure to your advantage, and it's a beautiful thing when you do. To learn more about our mental game training, there's a link to that below as well. Otherwise, I hope that was helpful. I know it helps me with the pressure I feel playing pickleball. It's not major league pressure, right? But it's a factor, and it does help. So I hope it will with you as well. All right, thank you. Keep up the good work. I'll see you next time.